Hey, good Saturday morning, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you guys are having a great start to your Saturday and weekend. Got you an update on what's going to happen across the lower 48 weather-wise for your Saturday, and then talk a little bit on the severe weather that we're going to have for portions of the country. Really talking about one specific state, and that is Iowa, and then small portions of states surrounding Iowa. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about the entire lower 48 in general weather-wise. Saturday is obviously an active day. It's a weekend. People got things going on. So hopefully this video finds y'all well. If y'all guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. Gives others an opportunity to do so too. We can all look out for one another and glorify God doing it. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Appreciate y'all's ongoing support, even in the slower times. You know, we're always not going to have a major winter storm to talk about, a hurricane to talk about, severe weather outbreak to talk about. But, you know, people continue to tune in regardless, and I really appreciate y'all's ongoing support. Great way to stay up to date with the latest and greatest. Obviously, it's my social media links over here. I like to have a little fun on there, too. It's not always weather related. I don't talk politics, so you don't have to worry about that. But, you know, I still like to have fun and, you know, comment and answer people's questions and just interact with people. So definitely hit me up on Facebook or Twitter over there. So let's get going here. We're going to take a look at the satellite loop. What you basically got going is you got a trough that's starting to dig. Well, it is pretty much digging across the western U.S., so you're going to be cooler, even cooler than yesterday when you started to cool off yesterday. Tall ridge starting to build over the middle part of the country into the eastern U.S., so, you know, the Ohio Valley, you're going to get to see these 70s today, and I'll show you that here in a second. But you had that boundary where the trough is digging here, the ridge is digging there, so you basically have an active jet shooting across the middle of the country. Therefore, you have a low pressure that's already delivering some ice for portions of northern Wisconsin and areas of the northern Great Lakes up there. And then you're going to have a low pressure to eject itself across Nebraska and then Iowa. Warm sector already building. Therefore, you're going to have some severe storms a little bit later here in Iowa. And in fact, you know, you look at the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center, what are they showing? Well, the slight risk is actually expanded a little bit more into Illinois and then southwest Wisconsin. And then it has a very large area of now northern Missouri in there where it looks like, to me, it looks like looking at the short-range models, these storms are going to, this line of storms has a chance to be a little bit more extended than maybe previously thought. Tornado threat hasn't necessarily went up. I think the highest tornado threat is going to be right here, right with some initiation of a line of storms that's going to develop right at the end of this event that really has a chance to produce a really photogenic tornado. Luckily, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's not heavily populated out here in Iowa, especially western Iowa. But, you know, there's that off chance where it could hit someone's house. It could affect someone's life. So we're hoping for the best out here and hoping anything that does develop kind of develops out just out in the middle of a field or something. But 5% chance of a tornado and 25 miles in any given location in this brown area. This does include Des Moines. So watch out here. There is a wind threat, 15% risk in that yellow. And then a 15% risk of hail in this yellow area right here is where these isolated supercells may form. But you can really tell what's going on here in this area. This is ambient weather, so, you know, unfortunately it kind of lags some. But it's a great site because it actually shows people's weather stations. These are actually just people's personal weather stations. They have mounted up at their house, whether it's in their yard, on their roof, on their fence line. I think this 73-degree area is off. I don't think it's 73 degrees here in north central Kansas, but you know, you can obviously tell some warmer air. This is morning time temperatures too, is building into Iowa, so that's that warm sector, moist sector building into the areas of the north central U.S. But you know, it's not going to get so far north, but it's going to provide a little bit of that moist air to, you know, provide a little bit of a severe weather threat. You look at the temperatures as far as high temperatures today across the eastern U.S. And a nice day. The Carolinas and Virginia is a little tricky. You're going to be dealing with a little bit of clouds. You know, this was going to be a day where I thought y'all were going to get widespread 80s maybe a little earlier in the week. But I do think the temperatures will overperform, meaning I think they'll get warmer than maybe what the HRRR model is showing. So, you know, Columbia, I don't think you're only going to get a high of 71. I think you'll push closer to 80. But we'll see how this goes. Anyways, I'm not just going to specifically talk about my area. 70s. Rising all the way into the Ohio Valley for highs. I mean, you're even going to get into the 60s, potentially 70 around Chicago today. Nice weather, nice spring day expected, basically across the Mid-South, the Ohio Valley, the Northeast. Unfortunately, you're still locked into some cold air. Not super cold unless you're in Maine. but y'all are used to pretty much cold air all the way through April, sometimes May. But, Boston, New York City, for example, y'all are locked into the 40s, but very warm day in Texas, the Mississippi Valley, the Ohio Valley, Mid-South, Deep South, Florida, you're pretty much all the way in early summer already. But across the western U.S., you had that trough that's consistently digging now, and you have basically just cooled down from earlier this week. So even the valleys, you're kind of chilly. LA, you're only getting into the 50s and 60s now for highs, and just in general, you're below average now as the troughing has settled in, and y'all have cooled back down for the time being. So as far as precipitation, we already have ice moving in through areas in northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin this morning. This will move out. Another area of precipitation will move in response to this low pressure that will develop. The cold air side of this will bring snow for areas into basically South Dakota and areas in Nebraska. It's not super uncommon to still see this kind of winter weather as we're getting into March. And then some winter weather into central Minnesota. I think areas like Minneapolis will probably stay mainly rain, but maybe some wraparound snow. And then you see these nasty storms that will develop, firing up right here. This is where that tornado threat will be. We're going to zone in here in this region here in a second, but maybe some showers down here in Arkansas, Missouri. There will be a severe weather chance in northern Missouri, and then just some showers in general building as that moisture builds in response to that low pressure and that shortwave trough kind of pulling that moisture out the Gulf. You'll have a little bit of shower activity in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas. We'll see how widespread that is. It might not be too widespread. Y'all have cooled down in the western U.S. Like I said, you're going to be dealing with some rain and snow in Denver, where y'all have had a pretty warm week this past week. Y'all be dealing with some rain and snow, and then it'll switch to all snow tonight. So we're getting into this afternoon, widespread snow all the way into areas of Nevada, and just basically the central Rockies here, if you will, Utah, Colorado areas, the mountainous areas of Wyoming, Nevada, and then the mountainous areas of Arizona, northern Arizona. You are definitely going to be dealing with some just on and off rain showers, snow showers. Just depends on your elevation. Y'all know how that works out in the Rockies. There's so many different geographical regions out there. It's much harder to talk about the weather out there than it is in the eastern U.S. when it comes to breaking down geographical isolated regions, that's for sure. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about the severe weather threat in Iowa. This will be the main topic for today, I do believe. And as we're getting into early this afternoon, you're already going to, this is really around noon. You're already going to have rounds of storms and moisture moving through Iowa. And then as you're getting into later in the day, you'll hear my little girl screaming in the background, but I'm just going to keep rolling. Storms start moving into Fort Dodge, into Des Moines as you're getting into early this afternoon. But I'm worried about these storms, but it's really what comes right into here in response to this low-level jet, some CAPE that builds, maybe pushes 1,000 joules per kilogram. You notice the cold air is right nearby. But these sails right into here, into western Iowa, southwest Iowa. These have the chance to get a little discreet, especially earlier in their life, early in the afternoon, later in the afternoon, early evening, just west of Des Moines. And I really think that these could produce a tornado. And hopefully it won't affect anybody. Hopefully it's not damaging. I really think they explode just east of Omaha. I think that this is going to be a quick moving, changing air mass. And I think by the time they explode, it's going to just be to your east in Omaha. And you're going to have cold, dry air moving in. And it's pretty much going to stabilize the atmosphere immediately. But watch out Des Moines. Des Moines, I do worry as you're getting later into the afternoon, evening, as this line of storms, how congealed will it be? Will it be more discreet? But this is I think this is Fort Dodge also, but Des Moines is probably the biggest city in Iowa. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong. I'm not an expert on Iowa, but I imagine Des Moines is one of the bigger cities in Iowa. But you got to watch out for these storms as you're getting into later this evening, because this could definitely be it could produce a quick tornado. It'll be quick moving storms. And then after that, what's interesting to me is let's stop it right here, where I think the storms right here will be the highest chance of producing a tornado. Okay, this is around 4 p.m. this afternoon. You go about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours later. It could be snowing in the same areas 5 hours later as you get into later in the evening and overnight hours. In the same areas that potentially see a tornado, it could be snowing. It's not totally unheard of, but It's pretty wild, right? So just tells you negatively tilted trough. They normally have some crazy dynamics with it. So it's just something we have to watch here. But severe weather definitely expected, definitely in Iowa today. We'll briefly take a look at tomorrow. Slight risk has been introduced for this area. Tornado risk also. We'll dig a little bit deeper into this tonight. This was a little bit of a tricky one. It's straightforward, but it's tricky at the same time. We have to see how moistened up the atmosphere is, and if you can get anything discrete to cause a substantial tornado threat. So that's all I got. Y'all have a great Saturday. I'll talk to y'all this evening. God bless everybody. Stay safe.